Sir Edwards branded the society outdated and demanded that they ditch the clause in their rulebook which states thus: membership shall be open to men actively engaged in agriculture and its associated activities, easy for me to say, and men who, in the opinion of the committee, would be an asset to the society. Right, so the word men there features quite prominently twice, doesn't it? The issue was put to a vote and it was defeated in a landslide, with 90% voting to block female members, prompting a furious Lisa to lash out. She tweeted, "Very sad that Liverpool Agricultural Discussion Society voted to retain a ban on women attending. Even in 2022, women in agriculture still face barriers to networking and learning in their local farming community." So Twitter users started a bit of a pile-on, really, with some even suggesting a protest at the next lads' meet-up, while others defended the decision, arguing that men need a safe space to discuss their mental health. I think that's fair enough in a way. So, is it sexist to ban women from certain activities? Let me know what you think about this. Send me your thoughts, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or, of course, tweet, as loads of you already have been, at GBNews. And, get this, you can even vote in our Twitter poll while you're there, and I'll bring you the results very shortly. But weighing in on this right now, we have brothers Richard and Fred Fairbrass from the legendary band Right Said Fred and activist Kate Smurthwaite. Cracking stuff. So, let's start with Right Said Fred. Is it right, Fred, that you actually should protect male spaces? What do you think?
I think it's a choice. The lads have been there since 1928. I understand it's obviously a little bit old school. They wear jackets and ties, as I understand it. And there are also lots of ladies' groups within the farming community, although I'm an expert on agriculture, apart from the BSs.
British politics.
But there is, as I understand it, there's ladies in beef, ladies in pigs.
Is that really? God.
And there's Lady Farmers Women's Institute, which I understand are women-only groups, as I understand it. So It seems to me that we're very, very keen on sticking our nose in other people's business. If these guys want to get together without ladies, there seems to be lots of opportunities for women to have their own space. And also, it's only, 6 or 7 meetings a year.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about a daily... what's the word? A
daily event.
A daily event, yeah. Yeah.
There's also, just very quickly, there was a gym I used to go to had a women's only section, which I thought was fine.
Yeah, good idea.
It never crossed my mind that I should start a protest and say, why can't men go in there? This was a women's only section, and that seemed perfectly reasonable to me. In the same way that safe spaces for women, safe spaces for men seems perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
So I think this guy, again, choice should be our default position.
All right, well, those are the views of Right Said Fred. Time now to bring in the wonderful Kate Smurthwaite. Kate, thank you very much. You've heard all of that. You've got women in beef, Kate. Why do you need the lads?
So the thing is, I have absolutely no problem with single-sex groups, but we have to be asking the question, why do they exist? So, for example, with the organisations for women in farming, they exist to combat sexism that women suffer in the farming industry. And interestingly, this organisation's been around since 1928. They're now suddenly saying, oh, no, we're here to support men's mental health. Well, that's an issue that's come up a lot more recently than 1928. Back then, they were not founded for that reason. They were founded to spread knowledge, they were founded for networking purposes, and they were founded to help people be better farmers. And if that's the purpose of the organisation, then excluding women from it is discriminatory. If they're meeting up to talk about men's mental health issues, then, of course, that absolutely makes complete sense for them to be a men's group. But that is not the history of the organisation. If you're meeting up to talk about men's rights, as your other guests said, they meet and they have a black tie dinner. You don't need a black tie dinner to talk about mental health. Actually, that's the worst place to do it. You need a nice, comfortable, sit-down, comfy chat where people feel able to express themselves. I'm not against organisations that have these restrictive policies, but the point is, why do they have them? Do they have them to fight a problem that's out there and that's real? And if not, are they in fact there reinforcing a problem that already exists, which is that there is a lot of discrimination against women and it's really difficult for women in agriculture, to get ahead? And I think that's the difference. And in this case, I'm not convinced by the justification offered.
As is indeed your right. Right Said Fred, is it wrong to say, I want to have 6 nights a year without the missus?
What I find extraordinary about the UK right now is that everybody's business is everybody's business. That's what I don't get. Nobody just lets things be. Nobody is prepared to give other people the choice to lead their lives and to have their meetings and to do what they want without
it's a professional body, though, isn't it? This is not like if you can have your mates round your house and nobody's going to tell you, right? There's not enough women around your house. But when this is an organisation to support people in agriculture and to help them to network and get information, then clearly that's a professional support group, isn't it?
In fairness, I imagine there's always more than enough women around at Right Said Fred's house. But carry on.
Maybe that's why men want to be on their own.
Okay, no, but seriously, go on. Look, that's the point. If it's a networking body, right? If it's a networking body and it's excluding women in the industry, then you can see that point, can't you?
Yes, I know. Can I just say, I'm a depressive. I've had suffered from depression since the mid-90s. After a lot of people, when they heard I'm too sexy. Boom. Anyway, the point you're making about they didn't set up the society to talk about mental depression. Of course they bloody well didn't. You couldn't talk about it then. Exactly. Wakey, you can only just talk about it now. Literally in the last decade, and I know this from being a depressive. I told many record companies over the years I can't work because I'm depressive, and they don't care because you're a bloke and you're meant to deal with it. And the fact you don't know that is the reason these guys get together.
But the point is, if they want to start an organisation to support men's mental health, they should go ahead and do that.
Things can change, though, can't they?
Could you let me finish? They shouldn't take an organisation that exists to support people in the industry and to help people get ahead in their career and then say, oh, no, we're actually going to now use this for a different thing to justify it being men only. The truth is, it started as a men only organisation in a sexist universe, and we no longer want to live in that universe. So it makes complete sense.
I'm going to throw right back to you, Kate. I get what you're saying there, right? Let's just flip it on its head and say that Lads was quite a poor name for a women's-only farming group, right? It's exactly the same thing, women-only, still found in 1928, and now men wanted to join it. What would you say to that?
I would say, what is the purpose of it? Is it to help women fight back against the sexism that they experience in the industry, in which case, fair enough? Or is it simply a group of people who want to support, better practice in the industry, more eco-friendly practice, in which case, of course, everybody should be welcome to join it because it's doing something important, and the more people in there, the better.
All right, go on. I can see you getting a bit irate there, Right Said Fred. Crack on.
By women like you who will not stop talking.
That's
now, lads.
That's probably not even true about this show, but if it is, then it's because you've been saying things that aren't real points and you haven't been addressing the real issues there, and I don't care. The idea that women talk more than men overall is, in fact, mythological. There are 4 guests on this show and only a quarter of them are women, so I guess I think I'm entitled to do half the talking, and if you don't like that, well, to be honest, you can stick it.
There we go. Right Said Fred. Respond.
Well, there's a song about this by a guy called Jake
it's a great song.
Many years ago called On Again, On Again, On Again.
This is totally relevant to the topic, right? This is about farming, yeah? Go on.
No, it's not about farming. It's about male issues.
It's about male issues.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Just be quiet.
I saw a funny thing on the train today. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
OK, all right, no, but so seriously, look, do you think it's more socially acceptable for women to say, you know what, I need a bit of time away from men, or I need a woman's only space, or I need these than it is for men to say, look, this is a man's only group. Right Said Fred, start with you on that one. What? Because that seems unusual to me. I'm sure Kate's going to explain it to me, but what's your view, Right Said Fred?
It's totally legitimate for men to say, particularly, I'm just talking about this particular institution, they've been around since 1928, they've had a vote, it's a democratic decision, and it's not like they meet every day, it's 6-7 times a year. I think this is just making a big deal out of nothing.
Also, I kind of think it kind of tags into the safe space that women want on the trans issue too. Women should have a safe space, and men should have a safe space. Men should be able to talk to each other about stuff that they don't want to share with their wives or their friends.
In one breath, you're like, oh, no, we don't want separate spaces. And then suddenly you're saying we do want separate spaces. You really can't have it both ways. The bottom line is that, yes, there are lots and lots more organisations set up to support women. And that's because women experience lots and lots more discrimination. than men do. We live in a massively sexist society, and that's reflected in everything from the atrocious, basically non-existent rape conviction rate to the pay gap to all the horrendous stuff that women experience, including myself, in so many different ways throughout my career. Of course women want to organise to fight back against that. And when men experience issues that are particular to them, and we're aware that, for example, in certain age groups, there is a differential in terms of mental health problems and the way that they're addressed for men. When men want to address those, of course, they should feel quite welcome to do so in a way that makes them feel safe and comfortable talking about it. This is not such an organisation, and nor should we assume that, therefore, we would have the same number of men's groups as women's groups, because women are the ones who, overall, suffer most discrimination in the most different ways in our society.
Understood, Kate. I do think, look, from my perspective on it, it may shock you to know I've never been to a lads' meeting. I'm not massive in agriculture, although I do certainly eat rather a lot. But when it comes to this, I do think, Kate, we probably have to take it at face value, what they're saying about the mental health. So I know that it wasn't necessarily what it was founded for, but...
It wasn't said until after the complaints arrived.
Well, no, we probably weren't asked, were they? They probably weren't asked. But right, said Frad. Kate, a lot of people agree with Kate. We live in a society that has traditionally been sexist towards women. Your views on that?
We're in the music industry. We've seen it 1,000 times.
Exactly.
One doesn't endorse the other. These guys want a bit of space to talk about their thing. That's up to them. They're voted on it. That's fine. One does not endorse the other. And to try and conflate those two arguments.
But they're not having a bit of space to talk about their issues. It is an organisation for networking and supporting people to get ahead in the industry. And if women don't have access to that information and those networking opportunities, then it doesn't combat men's mental health issues. It compounds discrimination aimed at women in the industry and holds them back, and that is wrong.
All right, we do have to look. We do have to have Right Said Fred's point on this now. Come on, sorry, carry on.
No, I just say
people should just have the choice. It's it's really simple. And the minute some person decides that A isn't right, or B isn't right, or C isn't right, we get into this whole thing about banning and forcing people to behave in a way that they don't want to behave. I'm not interested.
Well, that's what the law is there for, is to get people to behave in a way that makes our society.
And this isn't illegal, Kate, is it? Well, but look, God, I'll tell you what. Honestly, this has been mega, right? I've absolutely...
The law is there to protect us, and we can choose what laws we want to protect us, and we can set up our culture in a way that's fair and...
I'm getting shouted at from all angles here. We're going to have to stop it. Right Said Fred, thank you very much. And Kate Smurthwaite, thank you very much as well. Hey, a robust debate. Flipping out, I thought we were supposed to take bank holidays easy. No, not anymore. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope you did too. That was brothers Richard and Fred Fairbrass from the legendary band Right Said Fred, and comedian activist Kate Smurthwaite. Thank you all. So, who do you agree with? Well, Daniel on Twitter says, if members decide they don't want women to join, whatever the reason, that's their choice. If non-members don't like it, it's none of their business. Why would women even want to join a club where high numbers of men don't want them? That's a view, I suppose. Rod writes, most men are quite happy for women to have women-only clubs, so why can't they leave us men alone and let us have men-only clubs? Rachel, have we got a different view out of Rachel, do we think, ladies and gents? Rachel says, it's not sexist. No, we have not got a different reason, Rachel. Men need single-sex spaces socially as much as women need single-sex spaces. Women and men are different, and we can't always be in each other's spaces. And your verdict is now in. So we did a Twitter poll on this. Just 20% of you agree that it's sexist to ban women from certain activities, while 80% of you say that it's not sexist. So that's the result of the poll that we did.